Welcome back and welcome to my very first lens review. This is something I have been so on the fence about. I am incredibly picky at what lens I use, but I've previously tried to stay away from doing lens reviews, but I realized that was probably a bad decision, so here we are. Now, if you're looking for sharpness charts, you're in the wrong place. This is not what this video is about. I believe in real-world use, real-world examples, and more than what charts and tests can tell you. There are more than enough videos out there that do a deep dive, but this is not one of those videos. For those who have followed this channel for a bit, you know that I love, truly love, using the Canon 400mm 2.8 prime. So moving to this has been a long decision. I've thought about this, no kidding, for probably about 2 years. As you might have known, but I was just hired for my first paid documentary work, and I chose to move to this lens for the project over the 400mm prime. I thought it was a good time to make the switch, and I spent about 2 weeks in the field using essentially only this lens, and it performed exactly as I would have hoped. Obviously, I can't use any of the footage I took, but I was able to get some really uninteresting footage of some sheep that I can show you guys. I had about 6 hours after the project on the way home to try and get some footage that I can use for this video. So this is the sheep that I got while I was on my way home. These are wild sheep, even though they do have the collar. Now, I really wanted to showcase how well the subject isolation is. Even at 5.6, the ewe, which is the female sheep, is very nicely separated from the background, which is one thing that I was really worried about, switching from a 2.8 lens to something with a little bit higher aperture. Now, I couldn't just leave it with a single shot of sheep. I really want to showcase this lens and show you guys what it can do. So I did some birds in my backyard, and we're ranging anywhere between 400mm to longer with a teleconverter and the crop mode built in, and I was just absolutely blown away with the quality of this lens and the sharpness. On this shot, it's just absolutely beautiful. It looks fantastic. And on this shot, let's actually slow this down and pause it. Now, this is a still frame from that same image, and look at that detail. That is 400%, and it is just absolutely beautiful. I cannot believe how sharp this is. This is with the 1.4 teleconverter along with crop mode on the camera, so we're about 900mm on that shot. Now we get into just some daisies or whatever these wildflowers are, and I just wanted to showcase the color here. It is just rendering colors beautifully. The background has that range of colors in it, and overall I am extremely happy. So let's go over why I'm using the 200 to 400 instead of the 400mm prime. On paper, the 200 to 400 is for sure a jack of all trades, master of none. At the long end of 400mm, it's an f4 where the prime is 2.8. With the 1.4 teleconverter built in and engaged, it's a 560mm f5.6 and not 600mm f4 like the prime. It's heavier, more expensive, and smaller range than, let's say, the Sigma 150 to 600mm zoom, or even the newer Canon 200 to 800 zoom. It comes in at 8 pounds or 3,615 grams, which is almost exactly the same as the 400mm 2.8 Mark II. It came out in 2013, which means this design is the ripe old age of 12 years old. This lens could be in 7th grade. On paper, it seems like this lens doesn't really fit anywhere and is the odd man out. Well, that might be true for most things, and it's mostly true for photos. I believe this may be the sneakiest little underdog for video. For video, it's important to have versatility and flexibility. When taking photos and you have a, let's say, 50 megapixel camera, you can essentially crop around to your heart's delight and still have usable photos. You can reframe, recompose, highlight certain areas, or really punch into the little details. When you're taking video, you don't have that option. You are usually shooting in 4K and trying to have a 4K output, so most of the time, you don't really have any pixels to spare. Sure, you can shoot in 6K, which is my preferred resolution, and then it allows you to punch in a little bit, but that's only a slow punch, and it isn't giving you a ton of extra flexibility. The 200 to 400 gives you a very reasonable and useful range straight out of the lens. The 200 to 400 focal length is good for larger animals like elk, bison, bears, and anything else that is fairly large. If you need to get closer, it has the 1.4 teleconverter built in, so you can have a small flick of the switch and you're using a range of 200 to 560 millimeters on full frame. Now, the real advantage comes when you're using a camera that allows you to also shoot in crop mode. I like using the R5, which is what I'm using right now, because I can shoot in 4K 60 in full frame and the 1.6 ASPC crop mode. So in full frame, I have a 200 to 400 millimeter or a 280 to 560 millimeter 5.6 with the teleconverter turned on. In crop mode, I have a 320 to 640 f4 or a 448 to 896 f5.6 with the teleconverter built in. All with one camera, one lens within either a few button pushes or the flip of the latch, all without unmounting the lens or the camera. Now let's talk about the real strength of this lens, and this is the complete reason I got it, which is the versatility. This is 200 millimeters. We have this great environmental shot, super wide, and it's absolutely beautiful. And then through this whole sequence, we're gonna go through all the different ranges that we can use this lens at. This is 400 millimeters on full frame. We're getting a little bit closer. This would be a typical shot that I could have done with my 2.8, but this is the only shot that I could have done at my 2.8. Now, all of these were taken at f16. That's completely fair along the entire board, and we're not having any sort of depth of field to help us out a little bit. And now we're still in full frame, but we have activated the teleconverter, so even closer than the last one. And now we're starting to see a little bit of that environmental temperature shimmy, or shimmer as some call it. You'll see it. This was an exceptionally cold morning, so the temperature was affecting the atmosphere a little bit. You'll see it more later. Now we're at 640 millimeters, which is crop mode on the camera, but no teleconverter. Now you can really see that shimmy or shimmer, and it's starting to affect the lens a little bit, but overall still a good shot. Doesn't matter what lens you have, you're always going to have this with temperatures, so it's nothing against the lens, all about the environment that I was shooting in. And here we are at 896 millimeters. Now this is with the teleconverter turned on, along with crop mode on the camera. So I'm at 1.6 crop, also 1.4 teleconverter, and we are just so incredibly close compared to all the way back when we were at 200 millimeters. You can really see the shimmer from the temperature change, but again, not the lens's fault. The lens itself is exactly how you would expect a Canon big white. The image quality is superb, the autofocus is fast and accurate, IS is good, it's fully weather sealed, but it's also heavy. You can handhold it for photos, but you really need a beefy tripod and head to handle the weight when you're doing video. It has everything that you would want, like focus presets, 3 IS modes. A few downsides though is that with these big primes, you don't have the option for front filters. Now it's probably blurry, so put it close to my face. So if you're gonna shoot video, you either need a cinema camera with a variable ND built in, or you use these little adapters that you can mount between the EF body and the R, or the EF lens and the RF body when you're shooting video. These you just dial in. You might be able to see it a little bit, but as you dial, it gets brighter and darker. That is crucial for video. Another negative is the motor noise. I am going to give you an unfortunate truth about wildlife documentaries. Most of the sounds you hear are not true sounds to that specific moment and are added later. I've been trying to marry the video and the audio together to show a true moment in time. This lens does not help with that. It has the ultrasonic motor, but it still makes a lot of noise. If I'm going to mount a mic directly to the body or the cage, it's for sure picking up that motor sound and preventing me from using any of that audio. The lens was never designed for full-time video work, so I can't really blame it. Now, let's talk about the noise just a little bit and what it actually sounds like. So a lot of the background noise that you hear here is from the fan on the light that I'm using right above the camera. We also have appliances running upstairs like the dishwasher and just typical house stuff. But what you're hearing are the thunks and thuds from the actual lens. Now, if you see this blurry microphone right in the front, that is where the audio is being recorded from. So this is very typical of what you would do when you're outside recording, and these are the sounds that the lens makes. Now, you can see here the distance gauge on when it's moving, and as it's trying to focus, it's causing all of these large thunks and thuds. Now you might say like, oh, what if it's not just racking front to back? What if it's just trying to focus? And this is what you can hear when it's trying to focus. So this would be very typical of an animal that's moving around, and maybe your camera is set on, autofocus for the eye, and it's just trying to micro adjust, and it causes all of these small little sounds that end up ruining your footage. If they ever made a new one with maybe the VCM motor or voice coil motor that they've been using in their newer hybrid lenses, I would probably try and pick that up. But if you're planning on using this and you have to have onboard audio, you're gonna be a little bit disappointed. But to be fair, I've had this issue with the 400mm 2.8 also, and it might just be a problem that I can't solve. But other than that, I've been really happy, and I'm glad I made the switch. Sure, I could have gotten a cheaper 150 to 600 that most wildlife videographers at my level have. I am willing to carry more weight to have better footage. I'm not saying that using the 150 to 600 or the newer 200 to 800 are bad lenses, because that's absolutely not true. They are great, but my personal preference, how I want my footage to look, requires me to have a lens like this. Some of you might be wondering, what are the true pros using, and why didn't I just go with that? Well, the pros use the Canon 50 to 1000, and it costs $75,000. That's usually what you see on things like Planet Earth and other giant documentary series, and believe it or not, that might be out of my price range. If anyone out there wants to buy me one, I would be more than happy to give it a review. But for now, this is what's in my price range, so that's what I'm going to be using. The long story short on this is that I love it. It fits my needs more now that I've moved to full video. It will pair extremely well with my next cinema camera, and I'm ready to see where I bring it and see what footage I get with it moving forward. Right now, I don't think there's a better lens on the market that Canon supports for what I need. Sure, there are some really tantalizing options from Sony, Nikon, and Sigma, which I will undoubtedly be jealous of. But for the Canon market, this is kind of the best lens possible for video at this time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.